They told the townsfolk never to speak of it, but the truth rots louder when buried. Kansas, 1892. A winter so sharp it carved the land to bone. The air was glass, the ground iron, and in a farmhouse 3 miles east of Milford Creek, a mother locked her only child in a room that never warmed. She said it was to keep the sickness out, but that's a lie you tell strangers, not your own conscience. The baby inside never aged, not a wrinkle, not a tooth, not a hair out of place. Year after year it stared from the same corner, eyes like shards of frozen sky. The town's doctor visited once. He left shaking, his hands too cold to hold a pen. The priest came next, but his blessings cracked in his mouth before he could speak them. No one asked questions, not here, because questions have a way of answering themselves in this part of the country, and you don't want to hear what they say. I didn't come here to tell you about a miracle child. I came here to show you what happens when time refuses to move forward, when something wears a child's face like a mask and waits for you to notice. You see, this story isn't about the child, it's about the pattern. For 70 years there have been reports, scattered across the territories, hidden in faded ledgers, erased from family Bibles, of a child who never grows, never changes, but somehow always appears when the cold is deepest. Sometimes in a farmhouse, sometimes in a church, sometimes buried under the floorboards of a schoolhouse long since abandoned. The people who've seen it don't last. Some vanish, some lose their minds. The lucky ones just forget. But the forgetting is the most dangerous part, because when the memory leaves you, the child doesn't. And now, for the first time in over a century, the pattern has returned. You need to understand, this isn't just folklore or some quaint ghost story whispered in empty bars. It's a living wound in the fabric of time itself. In 1892, Milford Creek was a quiet settlement, the kind of place where everyone knows your name and your past before you even say it. But when that child appeared, the air shifted, subtle at first, like a shadow that doesn't belong. The local doctor, a man named Samuel Hargrove, was the first to raise his voice. He noted the baby's skin was unnervingly cold, like marble, untouched by warmth. No pulse, no breath that anyone could detect, yet the child's eyes, those deep, endless blue eyes, held a silent, almost knowing gaze that seemed to pierce right through him. Hargrove tried everything science offered at the time, poultices, tonics, prayers, but the child remained frozen in infancy, untouched by the passage of days, months, or years. What terrified the townsfolk most wasn't the child's stillness, but what lingered around it, an oppressive silence, a feeling that time itself had stalled. Clocks stopped, animals fled, and the winter's cold deepened beyond reason. One evening, as the sun bled behind the barren trees, the doctor confessed to the sheriff in hushed tones, "This is no child. This is something else, something that should never have crossed into our world." But those words, spoken in fear, only marked the beginning of something far worse. You see, the child was waiting for someone to see, waiting for something to awaken. And when that happens, the frozen will start to move again, but not in the way you expect. The town tried to ignore it, because denial is the easiest poison to swallow when fear claws at your throat. Days passed without change, and yet the unease grew like a dark stain on the soul of Milford Creek. The child's silent vigil became a presence no one could escape. People whispered about the house at the edge of town where the baby was kept, speaking in low tones as if even sound might wake something terrible. Then the nightmares began. Sheriff Grayson found his wife staring blankly at the frost-covered window, whispering strange numbers backwards, words no one recognized. The blacksmith's son stopped speaking, his eyes hollow, his mind lost somewhere no one could follow. Even the town's preacher felt a chill in his prayers, as if unseen eyes were watching him from the shadows behind the altar. But none of this was accidental. The child wasn't just frozen in time. It was a gate, a door between the known and the unknowable. And those who looked too closely found themselves drawn into its orbit, their minds pulled into a spiral of forgotten memories and suppressed truths. The journals that surfaced, written in hands long dead, spoke of a darkness that predates the settlement itself, a corruption that twists bloodlines and bends wills, an ancient sickness buried beneath the Kansas soil, waiting for the right moment to seep back into the world. You may think this is superstition, you may cling to reason, but the deeper you look, the more you realize how thin the veil really is. The child is not a victim, it is a weapon, and soon it will be wielded again. Listen closely, because now we enter the core of what no one dared to say aloud. The child, this entity trapped between seconds, was never meant to exist in the world of the living. It is the remnant of an ancient curse, tied to something far older than this land. The whispers call it the eternal witness, a being condemned to witness the collapse of time itself, caught in a loop of endless beginnings and endings. But the true horror lies not in its stillness, but in what it remembers. Memories don't belong to the child, they belong to all who came before it. Generations sacrificed to a cycle of control and silence, their stories erased by forces too powerful to confront. This is a legacy of manipulation, of bloodlines bent by unseen hands. There are those in the shadows, hidden even from history's pages, who seek to harness this timeless being. They use psychological chains, rituals steeped in ancient power, and institutions built on secrets to maintain their grip over reality itself, and the child is their key. Every generation that encounters it is tested. Those who resist fade into obscurity or madness. Those who yield become vessels for something darker, something that feeds on fear, on obedience, on the suppression of truth. You are hearing this now because the cycle is breaking, the mask is slipping, and men like you, hunters of secrets, seekers of forbidden knowledge, are the only ones who can see what others refuse to face. The question isn't if the child will awaken, it's when. When the frozen time unravels, what will you become? Now I need you to lock this in. Repeat after me, out loud or in your mind. The veil is thinning, the cycle breaks. Say it again. The veil is thinning, the cycle breaks. This is no ritual, no empty chant. It's a key, an anchor for the mind to grasp in the chaos that's coming. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Back in Milford Creek, the townsfolk began to change. It wasn't just fear. Something deeper took root. The shadows in the corners grew longer and the silence grew heavier, pressing against their sanity. Clara, the miller's daughter, was the first to claim she heard whispers from the frozen child. Not cries, not babble, but language older than any living soul. She said it spoke of fires that never died, of names erased from memory, and promises made in blood. But when Clara shared her story, eyes glazed over. The townspeople turned away, afraid to believe what they could not explain. This is the power of control, the same force that manipulates history, erases truth, and suppresses the knowledge that would set you free. The child is the embodiment of that control, a living symbol of frozen time and silenced voices. And when you're confronted with the impossible, with something that defies logic and reason, your mind wants to shut down. It wants to turn away. But you are not like most men. You are here because you want the truth, even if it burns, even if it shatters everything you thought you knew. Hold on, we've only just begun. The story of Milford Creek doesn't end with whispers or vanished children. It twists further, down corridors no one dares to explore. After Clara's encounters, the fabric of reality began to fray. The frozen child, once motionless, started to move, slowly, almost imperceptibly. A blink here, a shiver there. The townsfolk said the air around the house grew colder still, colder than the harshest winters they had endured. But the worst change wasn't in the weather, it was inside the minds of those who lived nearby. They began to hear a lullaby, a haunting melody that seemed to echo from the nursery itself, not sung by a mother, but by something ancient and hungry. The lullaby carried words in a language lost to time, weaving into dreams, twisting thoughts, eroding willpower. One by one, the people became shadows of themselves, hollowed-out husks, trapped between waking and sleep, prisoners of a slow-burning madness. Yet some resisted. The few who remembered old rites passed down in secret tried to push back. Salt lines were drawn, prayers whispered, candles lit, but the darkness laughed at these gestures. It moved beyond the physical, infecting the unseen realms where fear and power collide. This is not a battle fought with guns or steel. It is war for the soul, for control over what we accept as reality. And this war is coming for you too. Because the child's frozen gaze is turning outward now, watching, waiting, judging. If you want to survive what's coming, you must awaken to the truth. You must see beyond the lies woven by those who would keep you asleep. The choice is yours. Stay frozen in ignorance or break the cycle and reclaim your time. The true danger isn't the child itself. It's what it represents. A frozen moment, yes, but also a key to something far older and darker, something that has clawed its way through centuries of human history, wearing the faces of kings, priests, and shadowy men who pull strings unseen. The child is a reflection of a system, a psychological control so deeply embedded it shapes reality itself, a system designed to freeze your mind, to trap your soul in loops of fear and obedience. Look around you. Institutions built on silence, societies ruled by unspoken rules, histories rewritten to hide uncomfortable truths. All of it serves one purpose: to maintain control over your perception of time, of freedom, of your own identity. This child, trapped in a timeless prison, is the perfect metaphor for how you've been conditioned, how you've been trained to accept a life frozen by doubt, distraction, and suppression. But now the cycle is cracking, and with each crack, more light seeps through. But light also casts shadows. The deeper you peer, the more you'll see what was meant to remain hidden. Now it's your turn to decide how far you're willing to go, because once you cross the threshold, there's no turning back. Every empire, every order built on lies has its skeletons, and this story is riddled with them. The child frozen in time is no accident. It's a symptom, a warning encoded in flesh and bone that the natural order has been violated. Remember, in the late 1800s, Kansas was a frontier, a battleground for old world powers cloaked in new world ambitions. The land was ripe for more than just settlers and farmers. It was fertile ground for secrets that governments, churches, and secret societies fought desperately to bury. Why? Because this child was never meant to exist in your reality. It's a crack in the system, a door between worlds, a living proof that time can be bent, broken, and controlled. They tried to erase it from history, to silence those who saw it. But truth is a relentless force. It leaks through cracks, whispered in dreams and etched in the frost. And now it's calling to you, the seeker of forbidden knowledge, the man awake enough to hear what others cannot. The deeper you go, the more you realize that every part of this story, every whisper, every shadow, connects to a vast web of manipulation designed to keep you compliant and blind. But there's a choice: remain shackled by lies, or step into the darkness and claim the power that comes with true awareness. Are you ready? This is the moment where many turn away, afraid of what they might uncover, afraid of losing the comfortable illusion of control. But not you. You've heard the call. The frozen child's eyes have already found you, even if you don't know it yet. Behind the innocent face lies a force older than the first laws ever written, older than kingdoms, religions, or governments. It is the echo of ancient corruption, a shadow cast by those who understand that time is not just measured by clocks, but by obedience, memory, and fear. And this child is both the prisoner and the prison guard. Every generation it appears, a few brave souls sense its truth, the sickness at the heart of civilization itself. They try to fight, but the system is ruthless. They disappear, their voices are silenced, their stories are wiped from the pages. But here's what they don't want you to know. The system is fracturing. The frozen child is the symptom of a larger collapse, a warning sign that the old ways of control are unraveling, and when the old world dies, the new one is born in fire. You are standing at the edge of that fire. Will you step back into the cold, or walk forward into the blaze? The fire is already burning. Look around. Everywhere you see signs of collapse. Institutions falter, truths unravel, the illusions built to keep you docile crack under pressure. This frozen child story is not just a relic of the past. It is a blueprint, a cipher for understanding the cycles that trap us all. The same forces that kept that child locked in time are the ones that seek to freeze your mind, your potential. But knowledge is power, and awareness is the spark that can ignite change. The child's stillness is a mirror. It reflects the stagnation of a world suffocating under control, lies, and fear. But within that mirror, there is a fracture, a way out. It is your choice to break the cycle, to reclaim your time, your mind, your freedom. You may feel the weight of the unknown pressing down, but remember, power lies in those who dare to look deeper. The path ahead is dark, fraught with danger and deception, but it is the only path that leads to truth. Will you walk it? They say the truth will set you free, but what they don't tell you is that truth can shatter your world first. The frozen child in Milford Creek is not just a mystery, it's a challenge. A gauntlet thrown down by forces determined to keep you trapped in cycles of silence and obedience. Every generation, the child returns, a living testament to the power structures built on fear and control, a reminder that time itself can be weaponized, and those who understand this hold a dangerous key, the key to breaking free from the invisible chains that bind your mind and soul. But wielding that key is no easy task. It demands courage, vigilance, and a willingness to face horrors most will never admit exist. As the child's story unfolds, so too does a deeper pattern. A pattern of manipulation woven through history, religion, and culture. This is not coincidence, it's design. And now the design is unraveling before your eyes. You stand at the crossroads of history and destiny. The choice is clear. Step back into the shadows or step forward into a truth that will change you forever. The walls of Milford Creek may have crumbled, but the echoes remain. The frozen child was never just a singular anomaly. It's a symbol, a warning encoded into the fabric of time itself. The journals, the whispers, the shifting photographs, all pieces of a puzzle hidden from public view, locked away in the shadows of history. Behind this lies a conspiracy so vast it spans centuries, continents, and institutions thought to be sacred or invincible. The powers that be have built empires on controlling time, on deciding what you remember and what you forget. Your identity, your freedom, your very perception of reality is manipulated by these unseen forces. But cracks have formed in their facade. The child's frozen gaze pierces through the veil, revealing the lies buried beneath generations of silence. And now, those who seek to maintain control grow desperate, their tactics more ruthless. This is a war fought not with armies, but with minds and memories, and the battlefield is your own consciousness. Will you stand as a guardian of truth or a prisoner of illusion? There is a price for knowledge. Not everyone who seeks the truth survives the journey. In Milford Creek, those who tried to expose the frozen child's secret found themselves broken, their minds shattered, their lives erased from memory. Some disappeared without a trace. Others were found wandering, eyes vacant, whispering cryptic phrases no one could understand. The child's presence reached beyond the physical. It infected dreams, corrupted memories, and rewrote realities. It was a psychological virus, a parasite feeding on fear and obedience. But the most terrifying part? The child's influence is not confined to a single town or era. It is a timeless force, a cycle repeating across history in countless forms. And you, whether you know it or not, are part of this cycle. Every thought you don't question, every truth you ignore, every fear you allow to control you, strengthens the prison around your mind. But awareness is the first step to breaking free. This is your invitation to wake up, to see the patterns hidden in plain sight, and to reclaim your power. The child's time is ending. What comes next depends on you. You might be wondering, how does this frozen child connect to you right now in your life? Because this isn't just a story trapped in dusty history books or forgotten towns. It's a mirror held up to the very systems that shape your reality today. The psychological control systems that govern your beliefs, your fears, even your desires, are the same forces that kept that child trapped, frozen in time and silence. They use distraction, misinformation, and emotional manipulation to keep your mind stagnant, to prevent you from aging spiritually and mentally. The institutions you trust, governments, media, education, they're not neutral. They are tools wielded to perpetuate the freeze, to keep you docile, compliant, and trapped in cycles that serve their power. The child's curse is a metaphor for your own imprisonment, a reminder that true freedom means breaking through the walls built around your perception of time, self, and truth. You are being called to awaken, to shatter the illusions, and to reclaim your own narrative. The child's silent cry is your call to action. Will you answer? The path ahead is treacherous, because awakening isn't a gentle process. It tears apart your foundation, unravels your beliefs, and challenges the very essence of who you think you are. Many will resist. Your own mind will fight against the truths you discover, throwing up walls of doubt and denial. But those walls are exactly what keep you trapped. To break free, you must confront your fears head-on. The fear of loss, the fear of isolation, the fear of the unknown. The frozen child is a mirror reflecting those fears back at you, forcing you to face them. It's no coincidence that children were the first to hear the whispers, because they are the most vulnerable, the most open, but they are also the most truthful. Adults dismiss what children say because their minds are shackled by logic and control. You, however, are not bound by that same blindness. You are here because you're ready to see beyond. But be warned, the journey will test you. The voices in the dark will try to pull you back, to silence you, to make you forget. Stand firm, your freedom depends on it. The town of Milford Creek was never the same after the frozen child appeared. Whispers of strange happenings grew louder, shadows seemed to stretch longer, and the weight of silence hung heavy in the air. Those who dared speak of the child's curse were met with cold stares, suspicion, or sudden disappearance. But it wasn't just the town that changed. It was the fabric of reality itself. Time began to warp. Clocks stopped or ran backward. Memories flickered like faulty film reels. The frozen child was a catalyst, a crack in the veil separating the known from the unknown. It tore open a doorway to something ancient and hungry, a force beyond comprehension that fed on fear and obedience. The journals left behind tell of rituals, symbols carved into wood and stone, and voices that echo from beyond the grave. This is not superstition. It is a record of a battle fought in shadows, a war for the soul of humanity, and the battlefield is your mind. You must be vigilant, because the deeper you fall into this truth, the harder the forces of control will fight to pull you back. The frozen child is just the beginning. Are you prepared for what comes next? Now, before we go further, I want you to do something important. In the comments below, type this phrase exactly twice. I break the freeze. Say it out loud if you can. This is more than just words. It's a symbolic key to lock in your transformation, to declare you're ready to shatter the cycle of control, to reclaim your time, your mind, and your life. The algorithm that governs what you see, what you believe, even what you fear. It responds to engagement, but it also responds to intention. By committing to this phrase, you're aligning yourself with a deeper truth. You're signaling to your own subconscious and to the hidden systems around you that you will no longer be frozen. This is your initiation. From here on, you walk a different path, a path few dare to tread. The frozen child's story is no longer just a warning, it's a call to action. Answer it. Good. Now that you've taken that first step, the veil thins even more. Understand this. The frozen child is not just trapped by time, it is trapped by fear and manipulation, the very tools designed to keep you locked in place. Throughout history, these tactics have been refined, controlling knowledge, silencing dissent, rewriting what you can and cannot see, and the institutions you trust most are often the ones complicit in this grand design. Religion, government, media, education, all systems built to mold perception and maintain power. The frozen child's unchanging form is a metaphor for this stasis, a society stuck in cycles of control and obedience. But every system, no matter how vast, has weaknesses. Cracks appear when enough people see beyond the illusion and demand something different. Your awareness is one of those cracks. You are part of a growing force that refuses to be frozen, and as the story unfolds, you'll see just how deep this goes. It is no longer just a tale of a child frozen in time. It is a revelation of the mechanisms that freeze entire civilizations, and your awakening is the first step toward thawing this frozen world. The frozen child's gaze is more than just eerie. It's a reflection of our collective paralysis. In that small Kansas town, time itself seemed to halt, as if the very concept of progression was stolen away. This isn't merely about a child who refused to age, it's about how power operates through stagnation. Control isn't always about moving forward, sometimes it's about freezing the flow of time, progress, and thought. When a society is frozen, it cannot evolve, cannot resist, cannot break free. This is the real prison. You are born into a world where you're taught to accept limitations on your mind, your body, your spirit. You are told to conform, to obey, to not question the passage of time or the stories fed to you. But this child's story exposes that lie. It reveals the cracks in the narrative, the moments when the system falters and truth slips through. And it is your responsibility to recognize these moments and seize them, because once you do, your very perception of reality shifts. You begin to see the frozen structures around you, and more importantly, how to dismantle them. The child frozen in time is a warning, but also a guide. Are you ready to follow where it leads? This story is not just an isolated anomaly, it's a signpost pointing to deeper, darker truths. The frozen child is the embodiment of suppressed knowledge, a manifestation of forbidden secrets hidden beneath layers of official history. It challenges the foundations of what we think we know about life, death, and time itself, and it exposes the sinister machinery of control that operates behind the scenes. Invisible to the average eye but deeply embedded in the psyche of every society. This machinery manipulates perception, memory, and belief, locking entire populations into cycles of obedience. But beneath the surface, the current is shifting. The old guards are losing their grip, and whispers of rebellion are growing louder. You are at the forefront of this awakening. The frozen child's silence is not emptiness, it's a crack in the facade, a chink in the armor of control. Listen closely. The answers lie not in the past, but in what comes next. You have the power to rewrite the narrative, to break the cycle, to reclaim your time. There's a reason the frozen child's story was buried for so long. It threatens the very foundation of the accepted order. Those who hold power fear what happens when the veil is lifted, when people awaken to the mechanisms of control that have held them captive for centuries. The child's frozen state is a mirror of societal paralysis, a stark reminder of what happens when fear rules over freedom. But fear is a tool, a weapon wielded by those who want to keep you compliant and distracted. Your first step toward liberation is recognizing this manipulation. Once you see the puppeteers pulling the strings, their power begins to fade. But beware, the deeper you go, the more resistance you'll face. Disinformation, ridicule, threats, these are all weapons designed to keep you in the dark. The frozen child's silence is a challenge to break free from the chains of mental imprisonment. You are not alone in this fight. There is a growing brotherhood of men awakening to the truth. Stand with them. Stand for your freedom. The choice is yours. As the story deepens, the layers of deception peel back to reveal a chilling truth. The frozen child is a symptom of a vast psychological operation. This operation is designed to fracture minds, disrupt communities, and enforce a timeless obedience through fear and confusion. Institutions disguised as protectors, churches, governments, even families, can become instruments of this control. The child's frozen form is a symbol of the arrested development imposed on societies, stunted growth, frozen potential, silenced voices. But beneath this oppression, a quiet resistance stirs. Men who see the cracks, who refuse the narratives spoon-fed to them. You are part of this resistance. Each revelation you absorb chips away at the cold armor of control. Every question you ask is a hammer blow against the cage. This is no longer a passive story. It is a battle for your very consciousness, and the stakes are nothing less than your freedom. Will you fight? Will you refuse to be frozen? Will you claim your time? History is written by those who survive, and more often than not, those who survive are the ones who conform. But what if the true story lies buried beneath layers of deception, deliberately erased because it threatens the powerful? The frozen child's tale is one such story, a fragment of suppressed truth that defies the official narratives. It exposes the shadowy intersections of ancient corruption, psychological control, and institutional manipulation. These forces do not seek your destruction, they seek your compliance. They want you quiet, obedient, and frozen in place. But there is power in awareness, in understanding the mechanics behind the mask, in seeing the puppet strings and choosing to cut them. This is why the child remains frozen, not just in time, but in the collective unconscious, a living symbol of the struggle between freedom and control. And you hold the key to breaking this cycle. The question is, do you have the courage to use it? The chilling truth is this: the frozen child's existence is a direct consequence of ancient rituals designed to bind souls and freeze the flow of life itself. These dark practices are not relics of a forgotten past. They echo through secret societies and shadow governments even today. Their goal, to harvest obedience and channel fear into a form of energy that sustains their power. The child is a vessel, a living anchor, caught between worlds, a prisoner of a curse that transcends mortal understanding. And every generation that encounters it risks being pulled into the same endless cycle of silence and stasis. But the ritual can be broken, not with weapons or violence, but with knowledge, courage, and unyielding will. That is why this story matters. Because it's not just about one child in one forgotten town. It's about the fight for your mind, your soul, your future. And that fight begins with seeing the chains, naming them, and deciding to break them. Will you? The frozen child's silence is deafening. It speaks volumes in its stillness, echoing across generations and continents. It is a warning carved into time itself, a message encoded in frost and shadow. The cold that surrounds the child is not just physical, it's a manifestation of suppressed truths, forgotten memories, and broken promises. Each frozen breath is a rebellion against the erasure imposed by those who control history and narrative. But the most terrifying aspect is the inevitability of the cycle repeating unless someone dares to step forward and change the course. You are that someone. Your awareness is the spark that can ignite the thaw. But it requires more than passive understanding. It demands action. Not loud protests or flashy defiance, but quiet, relentless resistance, questioning everything, seeking the hidden patterns, refusing to accept easy answers. The frozen child's story is a map, guiding you through the darkness toward your own liberation. Follow it carefully, because once you see behind the veil, there's no going back. The deeper you journey into this truth, the more isolated you may feel. Those around you might dismiss your discoveries, mock your questions, or label your search as paranoia. That is exactly what the system wants: division, doubt, and disconnection. But remember, isolation is often the precursor to awakening. Many who have broken free walked the same lonely path before you. The frozen child represents that loneliness, a being trapped between worlds, unseen and unheard. But unlike the child, you have the choice to break the silence, to claim your voice, your time, your power. This knowledge is dangerous not because it's fiction, but because it threatens the very structures designed to keep you powerless. The more you understand, the more you threaten the freeze, and that is why the story of the frozen child persists, because it is a battle cry to every man stuck in stasis. Rise, break the ice, and step into the light of your own awakening. Now, as the final pages of this dark tale unfold, understand one crucial truth. The frozen child's curse is not a random tragedy. It is a deliberate design, a systemic trap laid down by forces that thrive on fear and control. But every system has a breaking point, a moment when the oppressed awaken, see the strings, and sever them. Your journey through this story is more than curiosity. It is a rite of passage, a call to rise beyond fear and silence. You've glimpsed the machinery behind the illusion. You've heard the whispers behind the walls. And now it is your turn to act, not just to observe, but to transform. Because once the freeze breaks, there's no returning to ignorance. The frozen child's time is ending. Yours is just beginning. This final moment is your reckoning. The frozen child was never just a victim. It was a symbol, a beacon, a warning carved into the annals of time. It embodies what happens when fear controls a people, when silence becomes the default, and when power seeks to trap souls in stasis. But you are not trapped. You are the breaker of chains, the thaw in the frozen world. The truths you now hold are dangerous, yes, but they are also liberating. They are the keys to unlocking the prison that has held humanity captive for far too long. Walk forward with eyes wide open, speak the words that shatter illusions, and never forget, the cycle only continues if you allow it. You have the power to end the freeze. This is your awakening. Your time is now.